about what is a friend. Is it your coworker that sits across from you each workday? A church member or community member that you attend weekly meetings, or a person that attends social events with you? We come in contact with so many people, and some are in our lives for a very long time. But the true friend is a once in a lifetime find, and you know that you can't let it go. There are not enough words that can describe them, but one thing for sure is that they are forever, and their bond is unbreakable. They feel that peace in your life that makes one complete. Time, space, and distance have no bearing on the friendship. Brother Munir was a friend. Those of you who knew him would agree with some of my statements, and others will wish they knew him. I had an opportunity to accompany Brother Munir to Ohio. I met someone who received it from Ohio. With the former female British BBC correspondent, Rita Gale, where I witnessed Munir look up an old friend that was raised in Birmingham. He happened to be home, and he dropped everything to open his home to us. He escorted us to an interviewee, Miss Kelly Williams-Bowler, who lived in the city. And then we returned, and instead of going out to dinner, he hosted us in his home. We went to the store, we bought food, we cooked the food, and we ate the food until we were full. It was far better than a restaurant. But to my surprise, after recalling this incident this morning in my mind, 2 hours later, I get a call. I didn't recognize the phone number. I don't normally even answer a number that I don't recognize. But it was Kelly Williams-Bowler. I was like, Kelly, I literally just wrote you down. You were in my mind. She said, Kim, I was thinking about you because I'm coming to Chicago, and I want to make sure that we make contact. Not me, but basically it would have been Munir if he was alive, but I want to connect with the organization. She knew also Brother Munir, and she too shared how Munir was a friend and how they called each other on a regular basis. A friend wants the best for you and will not spare any mercy to appease you. Brother Munir always gave you good advice and kept you on the right track. He was a man who could tap into your heart and touch you in places that for most people is very guarded. Munir could find that point of entry and capture your heart before you knew it. As your friend, he was not going to compromise his ethics and his principles, and if he had anything to do with it, you wouldn't either. He wanted you to be your best self. He never lied to you even when it hurt you. A friend inspires you. To accompany Brother Munir, you knew that you were always on a fantastic voyage. You were always around, he was always around full of energy and life. He was the energizer bunny. He never slowed down. He wanted to take you to the highest mountain on earth to show you the world, to help you realize what you could do. To be around Brother Munir was an honor and a pleasure, because you knew there were always lessons to learn. More importantly, it was an investment that you were sure to get a handsome return. To know Brother Munir is to know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his God, Master Muhammad. You can't come in contact with him and not be introduced to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He was a Christian before he was a Muslim. Matthew 6:33. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. In the Muslims' holy book, it says, my prayer, my sacrifice, and my life, and my death are surely for Allah, the Lord of the worlds, no associate has he. We hear people say, God is the head of my life. Brother Munir would say, nothing or nobody is more important to him than God and his messenger. They came first in his life. How do we test these statements on the merits of an individual? One way is through observation. We evaluate the actions of the person to determine if it is consistent with what we know or have come to believe and generally accept. If a person is stealing, killing, and performing acts that would be considered unacceptable in the community, I believe the general consensus would be that God is not the head of that person's life, especially when those acts inflict harm on your fellow community member. But if the person says that God is the head of their life and we witness acts of kindness, fellowship, mentorship, generosity, guidance, to name a few, and most importantly, a commitment that demonstrates that I am willing to give my life for the absolute elevation and protection of truth, I don't think it would be difficult for us to determine if the person lives by their statement. He was blessed beyond any measure that we could imagine. He was never ungrateful, regardless of any knocks that he received. In the beautiful book it states, it is not righteousness that turn your faces towards the east and the west, but righteousness is the one who believes in God in the last day, and the angels and the book and the prophets, and gives away wealth out of him. These are they who are truthful, and these are they who keep their duty. His love for Allah and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was always in full display in his actions, even when you felt like his chastisement was the wrath of God, whether you were receiving an oral chastisement or the withdrawal of his spirit. That meant for you, the telephone call stopped. Because if you knew Brother Munir, he was like a hyena. You knew your phone would not stop ringing until you answered. He wanted to be synonymous with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Allah, and he was blessed with that honor. For him, that meant when you think about Elijah, he wanted you, and you did think about Munir Muhammad, a student who loved him and wanted you to know him. The Quran states that there are grades with Allah. Well, Munir got his PhD in the theology of Islam as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And people from around the world sought him out to learn about this great man. This evening is in honor of Brother Munir Muhammad, who was a friend to many who can share similar stories. But he should be remembered for his work as a dedicated student in the history of the Nation of Islam. He should be remembered for his work in the elevation of the Black community. And he should be remembered for his work and the continued struggle for freedom, justice, and equality. Thank you.
Well, brothers and sisters, I know I want to say something. I'm just itching to say something because Sister Kim, it was listening to her was like an autobiography, a well-researched history of a person encapsulated in about 10 minutes. Give it up to Sister Kim, who made that special effort to travel from Chicago to make sure that this program, you see the programs, you see the beautiful touch today. Sister Kim made sure that Sister Aaisha had that help. So we just want to give a thank you to Sister Kim for all that she's done leading up to, even at this point. So as we move forward in the program, and I'm going to mix myself somewhere in there, but there's another special person that we got to mention. Somebody, they turned to him and they said, I know him. But they had never seen him, right? Because he looked just like his dad. Y-O-U. Carlos Muhammad. And I'll tell you a little bit about him. He's the oldest son of Munir, and they had not had the best relationship, but time heals wounds, and God brings things together. And the last time I was with Brother Munir was Founders Day in Chicago, and the passion and the love that he had for Carlos, and Carlos had not been just giving his all to Islam, to know that his son changed his name to Muhammad, and to know his son had health challenges, and he been a soldier, y'all. He been fighting his health challenges. He had a major stroke, and he been trying to do his best and be better. He been working out. He been exercising. He been eating right. He getting ready to help Sister Aaisha kick butt in the name of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his one of his great helpers, Brother Munir. And so we're so proud of him for what he's doing and what God blessed him to do. So y'all just take him. He's in the wheelchair now. He's getting stronger, but y'all work with him. I looked at him, I pointed the microphone to him. He said, "What is that?" For you.
And to my brothers and sisters, I want to say, Assalamu alaikum. Well, let me start off by saying, in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, the master of the universe, Lord of the world, there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and I bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his last and greatest messenger. And I greet you, my brothers and sisters, in the nation greetings of peace and prosperity of Assalamu alaikum.
Well, alaikum salam, sir.
Well, I just want to say a few words about my father. Brother Clarence was right. We didn't see eye to eye for a lot of years. We was at each other. It was time that I thought he would literally kill me. I think I made him mad than anybody else ever have. But my father, I think after his passing, I talked to Sister Kim and I said, you know, I wish I could have those years back that I wasn't in my father's life like I should have been. But when I did decide to wake up, and it was before I had this major stroke, and he told me that he was excited about that I was ready to do this work. Because he was not the type of father that was going to throw the ball with you in the backyard. He was going to tell you the truth. And that's what he wanted me to know, the truth. And we would talk on the phone every day, 2, 3, 4 times a day. And especially after his show went off, he would call me. Did you watch the show? Yes, sir, I did. Did you take notes? Yes, sir, I did. Okay, you didn't call in. Did you hear me on the show saying people call in? You need to call in. Even if you don't have a question, just call in and let me know you're watching. And that was my father. I mean, he was the hardest working man that I've ever known in my life. Every day, all day, always working. Even when he's supposed to be on vacation, he's making phone calls 2, 3, 4 in the morning, making things happen. And I used to tell him, I used to say, Dad, I want to be just like you. He'd say, no, son, be better than me. And I told him, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that. I always tell this story when I get up and talk to people about my father. But my lovely wife right here, her name is Patricia. She used to watch my father on TV before she even knew who I was. And I saw the relationship she had with her father, because she's her father's oldest. And she asked me about my father, and I told her about him. I didn't say anything bad. I said, well, me and my father don't see eye to eye on things. And, you know, because I was brought up in a Christian home with my mom and my grandma, so that's all I knew. And by the time I wanted to learn the truth, I was so rebellious and so gone that I didn't want to hear what he had to say to me. But my wife was talking, and I said, you know what? You sound like a Muslim. I said, you know I can get you some books and you can learn everything you want to learn. And she said, really? What? I said, yeah, my father. It's an organization called CROW. It's the Coalition for the Remembrance of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So, we got a joint checking account. I wrote the check and I told her, I said, when he see my name, my former name rather, and your phone number, I said, he's gonna call. 3 days later, her phone rang. And she started talking to him. And he was telling her, well, what did he say about me? And stuff like that. He didn't know that I was married, because we didn't talk. And from that day on, we talked every day after that. And when I had this major stroke, he came up to the hospital and saw me, and we talked, and I'll never forget what he told me after I got discharged. He said, just remember who really helped you out, who woke you up, who got you better and everything. And I was up there selling Message to the Black Man books because that's all I wanted to read while I was there. Because to keep my mind right. And it turned out right. And I just missed him so much. I missed the phone calls and everything. Because every time he came to Georgia to see me, like Sister Kim said, it was a lesson. And I know about the phone call, and that phone would ring if I don't answer, it would keep ringing, and when I do answer, he would say, oh, so now you want to talk to me? I thought maybe you was tired of talking to me. Well, no, sir, Dad. You only called me like 6 other times earlier, but it was a pleasure. I always talk to him because I wanted to know everything that he knew, and I told him that. That's what I want to know. And I can see his face when I call in the show. Say, yes, this is your biological son, Carlos Muhammad, calling from Cartersville, Georgia. He would just his face would just light up every time. And I sometimes I go back to these old shows that I called in just to see that. My father was an amazing man, and he worked hard for his God and the messenger. And if I could just be half the man that he was, I would be happy with that. And if there's any way that I can help continue the work, then I'm going to give it my all. Because he told me, he said, God chooses who he pleases because he can. He said, we don't know who's going to be the one to keep it going. It could be you, it could be anybody. But if it is you, you will know. You will know. And because I know I've come a long way. I was rebellious. Probably everybody in this room probably knows that already. I know at his memorial, somebody introduced themselves to me. Oh, you're Carlos. Oh, your father talked about you all the time. Not all of it was good. I said, I know. I said, I know. And then I had people tell me, he was more excited than you was that you all got back in touch with one another. And I know he loved me because he said it every day, all day. And I loved him too. And he's everything to me. And to be able to say that I had the time that I had with him, and I got that memory to hold on to, is fine with me. So I thank you all for listening. I will leave you as I greeted you. Assalamu alaikum.
For somebody that's scared to hold a microphone, I thought I had to snatch it out your hand. You're a natural. You're going to make it. Brothers and sisters, John here, we're going to just move around the place a little bit. Nabi Muhammad we strike him from the program. He had an illness, and he recuperated. He completely forgot. But he's doing better, but his illness kind of prevented him. William Muhammad, we're going to shift around a little bit for John He, who's not here, but his nephew is. But let me speak a little bit about John. John Hilliard is a very brilliant guy, traveled the world in Africa, has been behind the scenes when Munir was doing his work, when the nation was doing the work, when Minister Farrakhan was there. And one thing that I noticed when I was looking at the walls, there I saw John Hilliard, who's the former state representative, and now he's the counselor for District 9, right? 9. And his nephew, right? There's so many of y'all. You know, they're here, man. You think they clone each other like the man on the Matrix. but Ladarius is gonna speak on his behalf. He told me he's Russian. You can see him walking toward the podium so fast. He tells me to hurry up. But let's introduce him. Let Ladarius just lock him in. Thank you. Bring up a warm-up.
I have here a prepared resolution that was signed by all city councilors and the mayor for Mr. Munir, and I'll just read a portion of the resolution. Where it is custom of the legislative body to mourn publicly the loss of prominent citizens who would devote their lives and careers to the service of others. It is with great sadness and deep regret that the council of the city of Birmingham inscribes upon its records its passing of Munir Muhammad, a faithful servant who left this earth and transcended into the loving arms of his heavenly Father. Whereas Munir joined the nation on February 26, 1972, after hearing for the first time the messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, gave his Savior's Day speech. After the death of Elijah, February 25, 1975 and 1987, Munir headed the initiative, the Coalition for the Remembrance of Elijah Muhammad. As the business manager of Pro, Munir used this platform wisely and respectfully. He earned and gained friendship from people in all walks of life, all over the world. Munir is an executive television producer and host of his signature shows, The Munir Muhammad Show and Muhammad and Friends, which is viewed in many and major cities. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Birmingham, with Mayor Randall L. Woodford concurring, hereby pause with deliberations to extend our deepest condolences and heartfelt prayers to the family of Munir Muhammad. He will be missed by many. Presented this fourth day of December 2019 at the recommendation of Councilor John Hill.
Okay, thank you, Ladarius. I know you're a faithful friend of the Nation of Islam and the black community. William R. Muhammad.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. We thank Allah for His intervention in our affairs, in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And we thank Him for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. We thank those two for producing for us the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I want to say that I'm honored to be here. When I talked to Sister Aaisha, she asked me, did I want to say anything? I thought I said no. When I got there, I saw my name on the program. Well, so I try not to hold y'all up. But, and I want to be frank, I guess I am gained in my years somewhat of a reputation for being frank. Some people say harsh when it comes to telling the truth. So I just want to say, I want to be frank, I want to keep that going in honor of our dear brother Munir, is that I want to let y'all know something I had never told nobody else before, and that was that Munir scared me. He was, you know, he is a great guy, full of energy and love, but he worked so hard it scared me. I mean, his courage and dedication absolutely put fear in me, you know. Some of us, and I'm speaking of myself, we like to kind of pace ourselves in doing this work. We kind of like try to find something else to do. But the fear that Munir represented was that he was like, I don't know what the young people said, he always kept it 100. Loyalty. He was always working. He was always living what he believed in and he said. And that was a little frightening to me, I can tell you now. Could never say it while he was around. But that's a fine example that we have to have, and I realize that. And we thank Allah for his example and what he represented to us. And now we realize we have to get over our fear and work in that same manner. I want to share that back in March, I was on my way to a conference and my back was kind of aching me a little bit, and the conference was in Nashville. And so I said that, well, I'll just go to the hotel room, and when I go to the room, I'll lay down. This was Monday. I said, I'll lay down and I'll be up Tuesday and everything, but I'll be fine. Well, I laid down Monday and they had to come get me up that Friday to drive me home. And what I found out was that I had experienced a herniated disc in my back. And I had that condition from March the 5th when they drove me home until I had an operation on August the 6th. And I went from walking with pain in my leg to my back hurt to the point that I had to use a wheelchair. In fact, the Darius had to leave so I could say something that I went to a meeting in a wheelchair. I had my grandson to roll me in, and John Higgins, who is a dear friend of mine, close friend of mine, he told me, he said, when I came into that room in that wheelchair, he said, man, that did something to me. He said, I said to myself, well, he's been working for black people all his life. Now he's in a wheelchair trying to work for black people. He said, I'm not going to be like you do. But my point was, I spent a lot of time, I lost about 22 pounds. I found a diet of plans that finally worked. They can't get to the refrigerator. My wife would leave me cookies and potato chips and everything, but she got ready to go to work. She had retired, and she said, "You okay? You all right?" But that weight come off when you can't walk around and can't get to that refrigerator. I could get to the refrigerator, but I couldn't carry the stuff that I wanted to bring out of it. So I lost some weight. But while I was there, I asked Allah, I said, why is it that why did this happen to me? You know, like we always ask that question. And I would advise anybody, just ask the question and you don't understand what's going on, and you'll get an answer. So I said, why did this happen to me? And I think that the Lord spoke to me and said that you never know how much time that you have. So any work that you're doing, you better be about that work. Stop putting it off. And then the Lord also said, then bring somebody with you younger to carry it on. So that was my message. And I got off of that couch after August the 6th operation with that honor, as my son said, William Muhammad 2.0. Because I realized that I can't allow fear, procrastination, or what people think, or how I even think in the area of my thoughts about doing what I have to do, how somebody going to feel about it, is it going to work, is it not going to work, you know, and all of that. I can't allow that because we only have so much time, and we don't know how much time that is. It was a great shock. It was a great shock to me to hear that Munir had transitioned, because Munir was so strong, I thought. He was so strong, I just couldn't see being here without him. I thought he was going to be here forever. And I guess we often do that when we're in the presence of great men. We always let them do all the work and then feel like they're going to be here forever. So I just wanted to say that one of the things that's been put on my mind, Brother Clarence and I went to Selma, where Brother Clarence is the study group leader there, and he has a ministry in Selma plus the thousands of other things that he does. But something came to me that I said to the people who came out that I guess it's become my mantra now, and I want to say to you, I'm not asking any of you to join the nation. This is what God put on my mind and said. It's not for me to ask you to join the nation because God has come in person and chose you to be in his nation. So it's beneath me to ask you to join what God already chosen you for. He's chosen you as his people and to be in his nation. The problem is that we want to be in the devil's nation. We want to live in the devil's neighborhood. We want to be in the devil's business. We want to be friends with the devil. So all the hell we're catching because God has offered us membership, friendship in his nation. And because of lack of knowledge, we still trying to be in the devil's nation. Thank you, sir. I got one believer. So, and I'm gonna try not to be here any more longer, but Brother Clarence and I are working with the group up in Huntsville. It's a brother that got killed by the police, so I did some research on the police, and you know, these police killings is what's going on today. And they're killing black men, and the research that I did showed me that they said that from the time that the police decides that the black man is a danger to him to the time that he pulls the trigger is only 2 seconds. So who can make a cognitive decision in 2 seconds? That's a decision based on what I learned in psychology was called implicit bias. We already got the attitude that the black man is dangerous, the black man is criminal, the black man is a thug, he's a savage. So these people who know that they've done things that they should be wary that somebody gonna call them to account for in 2 seconds. The brother that got killed last year in the Galleria, that was 5 seconds, 6 shots. I didn't even know that a gun could shoot 6 times in 5 seconds. But that's what we're dealing with. It's not out of the category. We're dealing with that all over the country. And I'm just saying to you that we're dealing with that because we're trying to be friends with the devil. Now that might not be good language to you all. Maybe like I passed gas in here when I said that. But you're going to have to come to that understanding that these people that we're trying to be a part of really are what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said they are. They are the epitome of the devil. And we can't deny that. We cannot deny that. So until we come together and love each other and work with each other, till we have our own and do for self, then I would say to you that God is just sitting back, saying, look at my people, I've chosen them, I offered them a good job, good home, money, friendship, all that. I offered them all this, they still trying to be friends with the devil. Well, I'm just going to sit back and see, like Dr. Field said, how is that working for you? That's God talking, that's what God said. Now, how is that working for you, black man and woman? And we're taught that Islam comes after everything else fails. So I guess everything got to fail. The government got to fail. All your institutions got to fail, and then you realize that God has come to you. I don't remember, my brother Bishop Munir probably can help me with this, but what scripture is that said, if my people who are called by my name, humble themselves, what else? Seek my face. See, when you're looking at somebody's face, you're looking at them to try to see, do you know them, to get to know them. Let me see. When you're blind, you take your hands and you rub around that face to try to see, can you get to know them. You look at their nose and say, that's a permanent nose. That's a strong chin. God says, seek my face. But we got to go through what we're going through now humble ourselves and know that you are God's people. You've been chosen by God. And I want to say this lastly, and then I will sit down for the person who didn't want to say that. But I was doing y'all a favor.
You know that one was a little earlier than the same thing.
The Holy Quran says, and I'm closing on this, and I'm going to say this so that you'll understand something about Munir. The Holy Quran says, speak not of those who die in the way of Islam as being dead. They live, but you perceive not. Now, I'm going to take you, before I sit in my seat, to a place that maybe many of you have never been before. And that's the world of science. Do you know that out of everything that's in the universe, when I was up to Alabama A&M as an adjunct professor, the best times in my life, because I had 21, 22-year-old students that had to stay and listen to me, because they wanted a grade. So I had that calculator, and boy, that was the best time of my life. But science teaches that everything in the universe, I'm closing now. Out of all of the material in the universe, there's a thing called the light spectrum. And light is a wave of energy that on one end you have the gamma rays, and they so tight together. Gamma rays are dangerous, they so tight, but that same wave, it gets larger and larger until on the other end you got radio waves. Now radio wave can be 3,000 miles from one end up to the other end. From here to California can be one radio wave. But right in the center of the spectrum of light is about that much space. And they call that the light spectrum. So what it's saying, you can't see a gamma wave. You can't see a radio wave. And scientists have said that only 4% of what's in the universe can you see. There are dimensions that are existing that you can't perceive of. So Munir is not dead. He's on another dimension and he lives. And anybody else that you know that you call dead are not. They're on another dimension. And then, anyway, this ain't so far out now. I was teaching this. That's what Munir taught me in church. We go to a better place or a higher place, but science back that up. So let's not look at our brother as being gone. He's still here, but he's on a higher dimension. And everything is still existing with him. So once you think that, then those of us who feared him because of how courageous and dedicated he was know that he's still here. So we are still under his gaze and is pushing us forward. Thank you.
In the name of Allah, to be necessary. Let's thank again Brother William Muhammad. It was very deep, very insightful. And as we begin to bring the program to another part of it, I want to say this, each of us, and it was so hard for me, he said, no intro, it was hard for me to really describe because each of those of you who know Munir had a very unique relationship with him. And his relationship was unique to everyone. And I'll say this, that when I met Munir was 1994, it was, I'm remembering the color, I'm trying to remember everything. It was dark, it was a cold, rainy night. Him and the co-founders were there, and his brothers, and they were talking about the great work of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I think Sister Aaisha, Brother Jam Muhammad had just passed when they came. I forget because the curiosity of history really struck me. So that was my first time meeting Munir, and he would always travel through. Munir was like salesman supreme. He always selling something. He got suits. He got something he's selling. And don't you dare owe him his money, because you're gonna be known from here to California until you pay him his damn money. If you know Munir. But now I'm kind of like Brother William, but William made me step on a ledge. I was like Brother William was. I was scared of the man, you know. You know, you look at that phone, say, Munir, you didn't know he was fundraising, you didn't know you were gonna get cussed out, you didn't know you were gonna get in trouble, you didn't have no idea. All you could do is say, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Munir. Munir for me was like that, you know, it was like that uncle I never got, for the short period of time, we was close, sister, about 2 or 3 years. He one person that cussed me out more than anybody in a 2-year period. You know, but he had a love and a passion, you know, for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He was relentless. And it wasn't no like for me, I kind of consider myself universal Muslim. You know, I'm around everybody, this Muslim, that Muslim, black. But it was like cut and dry. He kind of like, Munir was like Bush, you either with us or you against us, and there ain't no in between with Munir. That's just how he was. I know you like them such and such, I won't say name, such and such Muslim, but it's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or nothing. You know, I'm not paraphrasing what he said. That's just how he was. And man, when he got, and oh my God, no disrespect to anybody, but don't bring up Malcolm X around. Please do not bring up Malcolm X, man. He got 3-part series. This Sunday, the next Sunday, and the Sunday after. If you didn't love Elijah, that was it for Munir, really. That was it for him. And as you know, sisters and brothers, at one time, him and the minister didn't have understanding. And the Munir just like this person. He don't care who you are. If he think you don't have a true love for Muhammad, that's it. He washed your hands. He washed his hands of you. That's just the type of person he was. He had a passion like no before. We think a lot of they came back together to work together and do, great things together. But his love and passion for the minister was so strong. You know, a lot of times we hear about Minister Farrakhan, but what made me so happy with Munir really was a jewel in Birmingham we didn't understand because he was an international spokesman or representative for the work of them, not like representing like Mr. Farrakhan, but his whole work and legacy was making sure that people knew who the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was and the God that backed him. That's it. He traveled, he researched, it was Mr. Farrakhan, it was this organization, that organization, this leader, that teacher. You know, he was on it. And it wasn't nothing. Sister Kim was one of the people that was helping him. He could do a show, and if you had anything in stock footage, within 5 to 10 minutes, they got a video of you. If y'all ever heard of Dr. Sabi, he was able to show how Dr. Sabi was influenced by the nation. And there were so many other people that he showed their level of influence, and he traveled the world. You know, in the Nation of Islam teachers, we teach Master Farad Muhammad, which is the founder, the teacher, the man we believe to be God. He traveled the earth. And Munir traveled the world to see for the world to bear witness in everything in the earth of the teachers of the Honorable Muhammad. He wrote a map. He went to Africa. He went to Europe. He went into the islands. He went everywhere. And we don't really sort of see the fullness of it from Birmingham, but many believers throughout the country, through him working with the minister, got introduced to him and the work of Munir, which was the preservation of the history of the Nation of Islam. And he'll always say the crow is not something you can travel with. This is an institution. And that this work has to be here and preserved for many generations to come. And how did it go, Sister Kim? We took painstaking time. He really did it. Munir, so many young ministers out there now, he just pointed them to the direction. Yes, Minister Farrakhan is a beautiful person, and he is, but he has a root, and that's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he made sure we knew the history, because a lot of times some of us got offset, by the minister's personality and forget where he got it from. And that's what his work was about. That's what our work is about. And as Brother Minister Williams said, that Munir is not dead, but we just here to let you know that not only is he not dead, his death is giving birth to another work. That's what we're here today about, that we're continuing to work on Munir. Munir was in Chicago, and his work is all over social media and YouTube, but we want to make sure that his home city, his home state, that his work will be remembered. And as Muslims all over America, his stories all over America that know the work that Munir has done. You know, he wasn't, if you know that family, they never short for words. And and I was in a room, we had the last founders there, and I said, Munir, you got like very wealthy people, and you got millionaires. He said, I have multi-millionaires. If you know, but that's how he talked. I've got congressmen, I've got judges in here. So, but he had a unique way of expressing the teachings of Muhammad. He could deal with white folks, Asian. He could deal with judges, congressmen, senators. So many. He always talked about. He didn't really, just like Melvin, he didn't talk about it much. He had a relationship with Barack Obama. He did that type. He was a commissioner in Chicago for many years until, certain forces didn't want to see him there anymore, so he represented well. And so it's important for us to preserve the life that he gave us to make sure that Elijah Muhammad's legacy live. And, one scripture that he always talked about in the Quran, which when the history of Prophet Muhammad was about when Abu Bakr was so upset when Prophet Muhammad died, it said, if Muhammad dies, will you turn on your heel? And it's like you just drive that scripture home. And so I think that the essence of that is that for those of us that love him, if he dead, will we turn on his word? And that's what we're doing. We're not turning on it, we're turning to it. And so with that, I want to thank everybody for coming. It is a special presentation that was put together for your viewing pleasure as well as your education, so you can know more about the heart and the soul of Munir Muhammad, his work that he put in the Coalition for the Remembrance of Elijah Muhammad, and the fact is that he will not be forgotten, and we will continue his work. So at this time, I'll step away.
Sorry, I forgot to greet it myself. I'm so emotional this evening because it has turned out to be a beautiful thing, Aaisha. So I will just say in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Master Muhammad, that there is no God but Allah, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his last and greatest messenger. I just want to say before we show the film, of course, if you know Aaisha, she knows how to put a lot of pressure on to get things done. But I do want to put in perspective some things like you said. When Brother Munir started this work, his nephew was back there, his father was helping him in the early days when they had just VHS. And when I met Brother Munir in 1989, if you went to visit him at Pro, he had VHS tapes. One of the things that impressed me, he put together a movie short, and it was called American Injustice. The beautiful thing about this was something he put together, which was basically news clips of how Black people were being mistreated. So when you talk about police brutality and all of that, and that's one of the beautiful things that, when you're around Muslims, you're going to learn something. It is always about education. And to be with Brother Munir, he's a very serious, no-nonsense person, but also he's a person that knows how to laugh. When you with Munir, it's not just all business. You're going to laugh till you are crying because he knows how to have a good time. And that's the beautiful thing with him, is that it's never a dull moment. I will say this, with the time constraints, it was very short for me to put this together. But Birmingham is on the verge of doing something very beautiful. And so what this is really something that hopefully Birmingham will begin to start, that they will begin their own archive of our history, not just only the Nation of Islam, but from things that I've heard and what I'm watching tonight. You all love black people. You all love yourself, which is a beautiful thing. And when you look, you know, they keep talking about take down the Confederates and all of this stuff. You need to be careful about that. You know, we got young people that's coming up, and we don't want them to not know their history. That's what the Nation of Islam is all about, is to ensure that that history is not lost. And so when Brother Munir started this work, it was just basically a video camera, which ended up turning into something much greater. And that son back there of Munir's brother, he can tell you how Brother Munir, if you was around him, he was just a magnet. You were going to go to work. There was no way you could sit down. And so the people that you see in this video, some you may recognize and some you may not recognize. But what I hope that you do is to listen and just see what's coming out of these people, because Munir was reaching out to the community, whether they're white, black, or whatever. It was always to bring information to the community. So whatever you choose to do in Birmingham, that's what it should always be about, is how do we get information to our people? You know, people are losing their homes. People are losing their jobs. How do we make sure that we don't lose ground? What the brother said, if you come to Muhammad, it's about money, good homes, and friendship. That doesn't mean money's going to drop out of the sky. What it means is we're going to quit buying what we don't need. Spit out of what the Quran said He has given you. And one thing I would just like to highlight, even about the issue with the minister, to roll with Munir and work with him. And if you didn't know, I was his producer for the 30 years that I have been. Well, we was 25 years on the show. Sometimes with Munir, with him, it is, you know, it's black and white, there's no middle ground. But it's not because he hates anybody. Unfortunately, sometimes people misunderstand, and I think you did that one day in one of the shows. People just don't understand. Not that it's about anybody, but it's strictly about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he gave us. And we want to make sure we lay hold to that. And so what I'm hoping, what you will see here today as Birmingham launch, whatever they launch, is that you will take note and look at the people that you have here in the history that you will be making for your museum, because I will be coming back because I want to see the Civil Rights Museum. I had a wonderful conversation with Wayne, and I'm hoping that we will become more acquainted and do more things just in the way of video production. So with that, I'm just going to take my seat. But like I said, just please, just pay attention to these people. Some you will recognize and some you will not. But when he traveled the world, it wasn't about him. It was always about you.
I'm like y'all, I wasn't that smart because I didn't know how the program would go till I got here. But I want to thank Sister Kim. Just about every chair has a quote from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and different quotes about great things that he said. So when you get a chance, just check the chairs and take you some information that might inspire you. It was called Divine Sayings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Was given out on the Savior's Day, was it about 1973? But it's 70s, in the 70s. And so again, we want to thank you for what you did, Sister Kim, putting together a beautiful program. And look at the nice paper, nothing cheap or cheesy. Huh? I'm about to get to you, sister. I'm about to get to you. You know, you've been whooping on me. I don't listen. Kim walking away. I don't disappear from all the whoopings so far. In the spirit of Munir Muhammad, you've been bringing them. But we want to thank you, sister, for making sure that the way this program was put together, you put this program together and they were standing over your shoulder to tell you, now Aaisha, I don't like that now. She even made sure, y'all don't know this, but she even made sure that she catered food from his favorite restaurant in Birmingham. Yeah. And she just made it sure elegant and everything looked nice. They kind of had a different presentation with the food out here, and she came, boy, and she came like a tornado until they got everything presented nice because she wanted to make it as if Munir was here. Because he only liked first class. If it didn't look right, he'd cuss you out and still pay. But that was him. And so with that, I just wanted to let you know. Give it to Sister Aaisha. She didn't do like most folks ask for a dime or raise no money. She just did it. So here's her closing remarks, and then, you know, y'all can do what most black folks do at the end of the events and eat.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another show. My dear brothers and sisters, I'm excited about this show as I am each and every show.
The struggle of blacks in America and worldwide, it would be transformed from a secular struggle to a spiritual struggle. But it would have to mature. It would have to mature because seeds have to be planted and they have to mature. So very few realized that at that time. But now we bear witness that except that our people return now, except that the struggle becomes a spiritual struggle because our problems are spiritual, there will never be any change in their predicament.
Know that I was a very innovative commissioner. I brought to our community the first outreach program that this office has known and our community has known. Many people in our community did not know about this office and what this office did. I brought it to the community, to churches, to community groups, or wherever people gathered at, all over Cook County, and we made a difference. Over the years of those 2 terms, we reduced over 435,000 people taxes because they needed to be reduced. Not and you were criticized by the establishment for doing it. Because there are some people in certain circles that don't care about robbing the people. And if our community pay a disproportionate amount of taxes, that's fine with certain individuals or groups out there that don't care about our community. But I think we made a difference in that office and how it was run and so forth. Now, when I was elected as the Board of Review member, one of those members, what does your office do?
My office is there to make sure that homeowners have an opportunity to be heard by government. And our office is a quasi-judicial office. And if people feel they're paying too much in property taxes, once the assessor puts a valuation on that property, because he's the one that sets the original number.
The assessor, Jim Houlihan.
Jim Houlihan sets the original number. Whatever that number he feels should be on your property, he sets that. It's up to the 3 commissioners at the Board of Review, if you want to appeal with us, to make a determination whether his number is correct or not. But we at the Board of Review look at a lot of other facts that he doesn't look at in the assessor's office, which is one of the things I've said that I will do once I get down there is to change the way.
So you're going to change.
I just want to thank the citizens of Chicago and all the corporations that supported the 11th Annual Chicago Football Classic, because at the end of the day, that's why we do the Classic. It is about promoting higher education, and without the help of corporations, it's just impossible to do. And really want to thank Mayor Daley and the Office of Special Events for also being a part of this.
One thing that I really disagree with, though, is compliance. I'm a young black man and I am a teacher, but if I wanted to get into the school system, it would be very difficult for me to get on the south side or the west side where I think a young black man is most needed. Compliance says that they have to have a certain amount of white teachers and a certain amount of black teachers. For me to get into a school, I almost have to go to the north side, where, in my opinion, a young black man is not needed.
Thank you, Charles.
I'll go. Thank you very much.
Let me say this, because I heard one other rumor that I want you to address, and then you can address that with Charles. Now, I understand that the school system is moving toward vouchers. You say you don't have a contract.
No, our school system isn't moving towards vouchers.
So this
Absolutely not.
encouragement of bringing suburban teachers is just a rumor?
No, we're not moving toward a voucher system. All right, the teacher is referring to the desegregation consent decree.
Okay.
Our system operates under a desegregation consent decree, which was enacted to desegregate the system. As part of that consent decree is a teacher quota system, which says every school has to have a racial balance of white teachers, African American teachers, etc. So what happens is a lot of qualified white teachers can't teach in schools that they want to teach in, and a lot of qualified African American teachers can't teach in schools that they want to teach in. So your caller is absolutely right. The problem is this is a federal consent decree.
Okay.
Now, we are talking to the Justice Department to try to get some flexibility so we can overcome the problems that the caller cited.
But I got to get you in, Jonathan. I mean, to sit here with your father, you know, we both benefit greatly from that. But, you know, you represent a youth that has come up. You know, you've been by your father's side. You've seen a lot of things. But how do you feel with the reception that you're getting from young people? Are we getting it? Like this training that you got, you know, you got firsthand training. I mean, I can go back and look at screens all over the world, wherever your dad were, there you were. So, you know, what do you see now that you are teaching?
Well, I see in the student population, our children are struggling and our children are suffering. And unfortunately, the schools are being badgered. And it's really an oxymoron to say a failing school. A school is a place where you get an education. A school cannot fail by its very definition. A church cannot fail by its very definition. People inside the school, the neighborhoods can fail, but the school cannot fail. A school works, and it works every day, everywhere, all around the world, and always will. Our neighborhoods are going down so fast that this is a symptom, the school. The school is not the cause of the neighborhood going down. So when you look at unemployment that's rising, you look at discrimination, job discrimination that are huge complaints in our community, when you look at our discrimination in lending patterns, when you look at how we have been sharecropped, which is now called subprime, and been overcharged for our loans, and we've had no remedy. Those that perpetrated the crime have gotten supported, they've kept all their gains, and they've gotten new tools to be refortified, and no remedy has ever been put on the table for the victims of the fraud. So this is a massive upward migration of wealth. Corporate earnings 2 years ago in 2008 was $998 billion. Because of tax policy and because of the government stimulus and the targeted programs they put together with the Federal Reserve, corporate earnings now are $1,660 billion. Corporate earnings almost doubled in the last 2 years. Home prices continue to plunge and stock prices have soared. That's government intervention, that's government policy. We have not seen that attack on alleviating poverty, not measuring poverty, that's looking in the rear. We can alleviate poverty. We know where this is. You have to target the zones for those that have been affected with these bad loans, with this high chronic level of unemployment, and put programs in place. The same thing that happened to make the New York Stock Exchange of March 2008, March 2009, go from 6,600 back up to 11,000, is the same thing we can do to move families out of poverty.
The exact number here in Chicago is a little greater than these numbers. In Detroit, you got 90,000 vacant homes or abandoned lots, 90,000, without one single chain grocery store in Detroit, without one single retail store. Now, where am I going with this? We bail out the GM, 60% U.S. government. Number one market for GM, for Buick is China, not for the U.S. Okay. But if you think, whether it's West Side Chicago or South Side, all these are vacant lots and abandoned homes. If we train our youth in skilled trade training to remove boards and put up windows and weatherize, and be plumbers and brick masons, you'd have more jobs than you got workers. But at this point, we choose not to invest in putting America back to work, and that becomes
the point we're going to keep driving home.
Reverend, you do continue to drive it home.
So when I went to the Senate,
Right.
that was naturally where I wanted to go, follow the money.
Right.
Because what they want from black senators is to be the welfare senator, be the link card senator. Well, I'm not the link card senator. I'm not the welfare senator. While we're on the link card, they're in there splitting up trillions of dollars. So I got on the Finance and Appropriations Committee my first year. It was the first time a freshman legislator had ever been on the appropriations.
I heard you fighting for a campus on the west side,
Yes.
which I understand that you forced them to put money in the budget for that.
Absolutely. We have $40 million. We're going to build a university on the west side. The money's in the budget. And I got a lot of heat about it because a lot of people, you know, like I say, they want me to be the welfare center. They're like, how he get $40 million? Mostly the Tribune. And, you know, I'm like, hey, I'm sitting there voting for other people to get that kind of money. And I'm for higher education. And I had Senator Kimberly Lightford, who was the chairman of that committee at the time, with me all the way on it. And we enlisted Senator Don Harmon. We had originally had asked President Emil Jones for the money. But Jones only wanted to give us $10 million. And I told him, listen, I'm not building no $10 million university. You know, what do I look like? I dive on every sword for you. I want $50 million. So I ended up with $40 million, and that's a good beginning.
But as you say, you dived on every sword because you all did kind of play ball with the
Well,
Emil.
I was Emil's guy. I was his pit bull, they would call me.
Yeah.
He had something tough to be done. He called Ricky Hendon. He had a bill he couldn't pass, bailing out CTA. He called Ricky Hendon. If it was somebody he wanted to stop from being appointed to a committee by the governor, Bogorovich, or whoever, he called Ricky Hendon. And I could get it done.
So what's so important about this?
What is so important as it relates to VON is that the South Suburban community of Chicago has as many black folks in it as Chicago does now. There has been a tremendous migration for housing stock, for schools, for many different quality of life, for many different reasons, more affordable. And so I am tremendously blessed to now have a signal that is 10,000 watts that blankets the south side of Chicago.
It sure does.
Because on my old signal at 1450, I was 1,000 watts, Munir.
But I mean, everybody and their mother, you know, claimed Dr. King. But you knew some other guys, Fred Shuttlesworth, and people who don't get credit, and then they wiped Reverend Abernathy under the rug. But you had a close relationship with all these guys.
And a couple of weeks ago, I was in Atlanta and had an opportunity to see the man that made it possible for me to go to SCLC, Reverend C.T. Vivian.
Okay.
And, you know, he's a forgotten hero in a lot of quarters around black America. I think one of the problems is people underestimated who Martin King was. And as a result, while he was living, they really didn't hear him. And he had the bar so high that they didn't want to die with him. And they didn't want to suffer with him. And now that he's really a world-class person, and people are still quoting his thoughts and utilizing his strategies of nonviolence and passive resistance and economic boycotts and all of that, they're now trying to pimp the personality rather than understand the power of his message.
Very well, sir. But you know, I was highly disturbed and I was highly appalled when I realized what they had done to you concerning the human rights position. And they could only have done that, you understand, with the consent of the general population that appear to be our hue.
Yeah, they felt they could get away with it, that no one would say anything about it, and they lied. The most painful thing, Dr. Russell, is, as you know, we've had everybody on our show. We've been inclusive. They've discovered that before.
But sir, Ray Charles can see it. When you come here, sir, you have a multi-ethnic wall.
Yes, sir.
If a person was to view and this person be myopic in view. I mean, nearsighted. If he could view your wall, he would attest to a fact which really is not true. He said, look, this person can't be Islam the way his wall is, because this man has incorporated all. They would think you were an international diplomat because you rub shoulders and dine with all of them. Now that's the reason why one cannot say on a certain level there was not some truth in the article of the so-called skinhead, because he said something.
Oh, so you saw the skinhead?
Yes, I seen some of the article. He said, look, this man deal with all on the level there.
What is it about trying to use you, a dignified person like you, as a stepping stone for another office? Why do these people even... let me just put it like this. Let me say this. There's not a city or a state in America that's doing well. Not even thinking of the county. You understand?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Everybody's operating on a deficit. You don't even have a voting power as a commissioner. Why do everybody stick you with these taxes as if Todd Stroge is doing this, Todd Stroge is doing... Help me to understand that.
Well, I think you and I have talked about the newspapers before, and I think that the newspapers have tried to frame me since day one, since the moment that I was given the opportunity to run for the position. They've talked to Commissioner Quigley, and he became the voice of everything that happens in the county, and they have made the Northsiders and for the county especially, Commissioner Claypool, Commissioner Quigley, and Commissioner Suffredin have become the moral authority of everything that happens. So they are able to judge me, without knowing anything of what I've done, or even at this point, they still are able to judge me without looking at what we've done in these last 2 years. And the papers will listen to them. So if you read the Tribune editorial page, they write in the voice of Mike Quigley. And he has decided that he wants to be something else.
Well, why
and the way to do that is to step on somebody's head.
But weren't there some other policemen involved with, there's charges of misconduct of some sort?
Yeah, so separately, there was a separate special prosecutor, former Judge Pat Holmes, African-American woman, excellent lawyer, who led an investigation, and the grand jury in that case determined, I think there were 3 or 4 officers who were charged as, in effect, as part of a cover-up following the killing of Laquan McDonald, and those cases are also pending.
And there have been some policemen that have retired that were not charged, right?
Right. It was a larger investigation. Right. And some of that arose from the Inspector General's investigation, which is a civil, not a criminal case. But yes, in the wake of that, there were a number of officers who resigned rather than face charges.
In the world are interested in knowing more about the organization, especially people in Europe, in Africa, in the Middle East. And we want to try, this is actually the first comprehensive look by any Western media at the Nation of Islam, and we're very happy to be the people who are going to be doing it. I think the BBC is well known for its impartial, objective reporting, and we hope to bring out as much as possible the intricacies, the delicacies, the controversies, but also the achievements of the Nation of Islam, and present it to an international audience. So that's what we're here to do.
Well, Charles, if you can do that from an objective perspective, then we think it'll be a job well done. It's certainly needed in some aspects, because you know that we've been misrepresented throughout the world, and I'm sure that being a black man, it should give you a better look at us, because you're also from Nigeria too.
Yeah, I'm originally from Nigeria. I was born in Glasgow, Scotland, by a freak of circumstance, but I am from Nigeria. My parents are from the Igbo-speaking part of the country. Mm-hmm. And I know that they, as much as many other people around Africa, are very curious to know what really the Nation of Islam are about. As you said, there's been a lot of positive and negative things said. Quite a lot of the negative things have been broadcast and transmitted around the world via the newspapers and the media. And I think it's time that someone put the Nation of Islam under a microscope, but under an objective microscope, and give them the chance to not only respond, but also to show the world what they're actually about. That's what we're here to do.
in a few years, which will be $1 trillion, if we would ever work together toward uplifting ourselves, working with each other, pooling our resources, we could make racism a moot point.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean that it would go away, but what it does mean is that people could not afford
to take that gamble to use it against
they
us.
couldn't do it because we're too important of an economic force if we would ever leverage the power that we have, but we don't do that.
And as I was standing looking in the mirror, I was saying thank you to Allah for allowing me for 62 years to be a follower of and a representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And except for a few days, when I lost my way temporarily, it is an honor to love, to know, and to be faithful to the greatest man of my life, your life, our lives, and the only man that can say with truth that I met with and was taught by Almighty God, Allah, in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. And some in our audience, you know, you think kind of spooky. You think that God is some fella out in space. I notice when you do something great, you point up. You're not wrong. Because when you point up as though God is up above, He really is. He's the most magnificent manifestation of His 99 attributes. He's in the highest, most elevated place in terms of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and power. And that's why He's called omnipresent, omniscient, but yet can appear in the form of a man.
I've been blessed to travel throughout the world. And I want to say that this is the importance, Brother Munir, of your program. We have enough history of how great leaders who have come before us have been dismissed. And if there are no people to keep that leader alive, in some areas of it you call putting props under the work that is done. When a man does work, such as Brother Farrakhan today or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad when he was with us, he didn't keep looking back to see who was keeping his props under the work and the accomplishments that he had made. He had to go on to new things that were in front of him. And he said to Minister Farrakhan, or he said to Alex Haley, because many of our brothers and sisters do not know that when Alex Haley first wrote The Most Powerful Black Man in America in Reader's Digest, which was the beginning of him writing the biography of Malcolm X, the autobiography that he assisted Malcolm with, he went to Malcolm first and asked Malcolm to ask the Honorable Elijah Muhammad if he could write a biography on him. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told Malcolm,
No, I would rather my biography be written when I put a period at the end of my work.
Very good.
But he said, however, Malcolm, your work, you would represent a good testimony of the power of Islam in the lives of millions of black people in America by telling him your background, how you were introduced to Islam. And that's how the biography actually started. So when men work, they keep in front of them what they have to accomplish, and they depend on people to try to, people who come after them and analyze their work and know the importance of keeping their name and their memory and becoming like an archivist, to keep the archives of what went on for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. We have watched Paul Robeson. There's a very good part in Haki's book, Haki Madhubuti, who we must give him credit for negotiating the great meeting between Minister Farrakhan and Dr. Betty Shabazz. And he is not a Muslim. But in his book, his last book, Claiming Earth, he mentioned how when he was in the military and he had Paul Robeson's book, and his captain or company commander saw the book and said, "What are you doing with the book of this communist?" And the book was torn up and so forth. And today, many of our young brothers and sisters, because of Paul Robeson's political philosophy, they don't know anything about him. His work, his ongoing work, there are books written and people who look at it may read it, but the general public know very little about Paul Robeson, who was one of our giants. That's because there wasn't a person like Brother Munir Muhammad who was with him. Even his children who have tried have not been able to make him a household word for his struggle for the justice of our people. A man who could speak 15 languages, traveled all over the world, a man who fought against all odds, a man who backed off the stage that was paying him handsomely in order that he could get involved in the justice for our people. But there was nobody like a Brother Munir Muhammad who thought to put together a place and to keep his memory alive or do a TV show where his name is invoked every Sunday. So I thank you for it, and I don't know if many people come on the show and would say this to you, but I'm a self-made historian. And even though I went to school for a little while trying to learn how to write and to put things down on paper, I have a firm belief in the value of history.
Well, let me just interrupt you by saying this. Coming from you, that's the greatest honor that has been bestowed upon us, because other than God and his messenger himself. I'm Munir Muhammad. Thank you so much for watching, and may Allah bless you with the light of understanding as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.